Is melting, all the ships are going home, and the wind is getting colder, and we feel.
Well, a very, very good evening. I'm so glad to see you all here, especially because it's summer-like outside, and there are other places that you could be, so that you chose to be inside here with us is for us. We have to give you a very special welcome, and to those of you on Zoom, you get the second best welcome. Well, we're happy to see you as well. And so this is an interesting topic we've chosen to have a conversation about today. So before we go any further, let's just have a moment of silence. Om Shanti. Anyone here for the first time? Oh, one, oh, two. Very good. Very good. Okay. So we wanted to talk about time and take a look at what is informing our living and to what extent you are aware or unaware of what and how that influences the decisions that you make. So we want to bring that to the forefront today and not have it be in the background, because if it's more in your awareness, then you can take a lot more responsibility for the decisions that you're making. So as we have this conversation, keep this illustration in mind. That's what I want to make sure is in your awareness. Because of course we're operating with a particular model. And these two are the dominant ones, whether time is cyclical or linear. But the distinctions are so, what's the best word? They connote so much difference that you need to be very clear on what those differences are and how accepting them or not accepting them has influenced how you're living your life. So, for example, and we're not going to solve the what might still be I don't know if dispute is the right word, but certainly there are advocates for this linear model, and of course there are those that are against that and some that are for that. In the interest of full disclosure, us in the spiritual community adhere to the cyclical model, but at the same time, we understand and have regard for those who do not. And so those differences that are so stark, we need to make sure that you're present to And so if you are with this model, then of course you are accepting that everything is cyclical because it's not just the time itself that keeps returning, but you keep returning. And the days keep returning, the weeks and the months keep returning, the seasons keep returning. And what's also important to remember in terms of your own returning is that so does the problems and challenges that you face. It's continuous. Okay. So in general, that is the cyclical model, but it's profound in so many other ways because here it's linear. And of course, the understanding is that you with this model, we are evolving. We were at some point at our, we might say, our lowest level of function. And as we moved up this chain of of in intellect and all that goes with the biological changes, not only do we change, but the world change. And in fact, we're the form that we're in, the physical form, according to this model, that wasn't always the case. And so if you go as far back as they take us, not there were times when you didn't even have arms and legs and so on. And so with this model, it's supposed to represent advancement, and that at some point as we go along, the changes that occur actually makes for a better world because we're becoming smarter, we're becoming wiser, we're becoming more understandable of our environment and so on and so on. But of course, in reality, that's really not what you're experiencing, is it? In terms of us moving in a direction that indicates that things are going to get better. Does the linear model indicate that that's what is happening? Do you sense that where we're headed is in a better place, and that we are evolving, and that we understand more? Of course, this is in with all of the scientific breakthroughs, certainly, because we didn't have so many things that we have today. We weren't able to do things as quickly as we can today, or travel, and all of the scientific breakthroughs. But along with that, since all of these things are designed to make our lives better, is that what you're experiencing? In other words, are we happier? Are we more secure? Are we at peace? Are we in harmony? Which are the things that you would have to measure with regard to humanity. So the measure in terms of the science is an excellent measure for this model, because of course you can do so much that you weren't able to do before. We can have people on, there might be people listening in from across the globe right now. And so that progress, that measure is a measure in terms of our scientific breakthroughs and capabilities. But is it measuring our own progress? Not really, is it? In fact, if we were to be honest about that, the line wouldn't be going up, it would be going down. And so there's reason to question the validity of this. And so with the cyclical model, what this really indicates is that we have had all of the different levels that we are going through as the cycle turns. In other words, we've had the best times already, and we're going to have them again. And we have had the worst times, which might indicate that's probably where we almost are right now. And we will go out of that, and as the cycle turns, we will keep repeating those things. And so when you think of that, then there's a lot more reason to be hopeful, because it also puts you more at cause than at effect, because you can start to look and see, well, what role are you playing in this, and what does this have to do with your aims and objectives? What can you look forward to, and what kind of a reality does that mean in terms of the way we live our lives? Not to mention the fact that because this has a beginning, whether or not you understand or accept or appreciate that, if you accept this model, this has a beginning, and of course, anything with a beginning has an end. And so, with this model, because it's more physical in terms of how it's defined and how we understand it, everything in this is subject to, well, entropy and decay. And so a lot of the fear and despair and conflict and so on that we have has to do with the fact that if you see yourself in this physical context where you have very little control over your own existence, if you will, then that gives rise to the level of fear we have about so many things, because we have that fear of loss. We have that sense that what we value we are going to lose, especially our own lives. And of course, here there is no loss in that sense, because you are eternal, you are forever. The cyclical model, just in other words, it just keeps rolling along, as they say. Okay, so you can see that if your living is informed by this model, then the kind of life that you lead will be very different than this model. Okay, so you would be less secure, you might say, when you are thinking of your future and what informs our living. But the main problem with it is what we consider, well, what's real, and our reality with this model here leaves us kind of in limbo and displaced, because if you adhere to this, then what you're also subscribing to is that what is essentially you is physical, this body that you have and everything associated with it. Whereas here, it would be spiritual, because then you would be part of this whole, that always is. You know, what's real always is. It never dies. But if you don't see yourself that way, then you can see that that would have a whole different effect on you. And it's like, and that's why I wanted you to keep this in your awareness as we're having this conversation. And but I want it in the foreground. It's very important because what you are aware of, even if it's you're not conscious of it, really makes a difference in the choices that you that you make. This is why if you were to if you were to leave here and maybe stumble and fall and hit your head on the pavement, and they call the folks to make sure that you're okay. You know, they ask you certain questions to make sure that you're okay. They would ask you, well, they might ask you, do you know where you are? They might ask you, do you know what day it is? They might ask you, do you know where you were going? And once, depending on your answers to that question, then they would let you go on your own, because that means that you're really present. And so that awareness, even though it's not in the foreground, informs how you live your life. The way that you're dressed today is because that you're aware that it's warm. You're aware that you can be comfortable in with the clothes that you're wearing, but it's not something that you're walking around thinking about. And so if you are unaware that, as we like to put it, is we are not a body. We have a body. And a very well-known way it's put, I think it was Deepak Chopra who coined this way of understanding it, and it keeps being repeated, but it's very important that we are not physical beings having a spiritual experience. It's the other way around. We are spiritual beings having a physical experience. So you can see that if you are thinking that you are physical, then everything that you do is in keeping with that awareness, is in keeping with that perspective. And of course, if you understand and appreciate that you are spiritual, meaning that you are forever, meaning that you are beyond harm, that will change your entire outlook. You would all of the hustle and bustle and hurry and gathering, and because you see, the world we live in, this world, you are what you have. And so if you are what you have, then when you don't, you aren't. And so you have this relationship with things that is dependent. In other words, your well-being, your self-esteem, your validity is outside of you. You have no you're not in charge of that. It can be taken from you at any moment. And so you live with that anxiety. It might not be very, very present, but it's there. And of course, that is totally opposite to the world that we ought to be creating for ourselves, which is what you're attempting to do with this model. You're attempting, you want happiness, and you want love, and you want security, and you want peace. Well, all of that you already are with this model, because when you are eternal, when you are whole, and when you are complete, as we are using this understanding, then we're not here to get anything. We are here really to enjoy and create, so that we ought to be here experiencing, we ought to be here expressing, we ought to be here being entertained. But you're not able to do that if you see yourself as part of this. You have to be detached from it in a way that that as you're listening to me right now, you are aware that you are the listener, and that whatever you're experiencing, you are aware that you are the experiencer, not the experience, not the sound. And so how you are able to have that distance and that understanding is, first of all, having this this view of yourself that is the opposite to the prevailing one, so that you would have to be clear about your being this invisible witness, this soul, this spirit, this light within. And once you have that, then you would be spending your time nurturing that. You'd be spending your time becoming more and more that highest level that you can function at, that spiritual level. And of course, in doing so, all of the other needs get met in that process, because this is no longer, you're not chasing any dreams that way. You are fulfilling the purpose for which you are here. And the only way you can discover the purpose for which you are here, not the body. Remember, you came into the body, you came into this physical thing, okay? And the only way you can discover why and for what, and what all of your specialities are, and what you're here to do, well, is to have that be your focus. That's the spiritual journey that you are here for. And the things that you acquire, which of course you will be leaving behind, because they're things for you to play with. They don't really belong to you. Not even not even the body belongs to you. It's something that you've been given to make use of. And so, and this is why, you're always reminded that you can't take it with you. Well, the it is all of the things that you acquire, but what you can take with you is all of the things that, by virtue of the relationship that you've had with those things, that allowed you to become more generous in spirit, allows you to become more self-assured, allows you to become more loving and caring and compassionate and secure and confident. That you can take with you. And so what we are encouraging you to do here is to seek that assurance by the practices that we have, the meditation and all of the allied disciplines. so you need not be afraid of tomorrow. You can look forward to tomorrow. But this model here, you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. Okay. And in fact, and what it might bring, you are fearful of. With this model, that's not a concern. And in fact, what you are changing is not what's happening with this model. What you're changing is how you relate to it. That's what you're changing. And all of that is this journey within. And one of my favorite quotes when I talk about this subject comes from Wayne Dyer, and what he says is that when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And so all of the action is over here instead of over there. And this is why you want to change that awareness. You're literally, unconscious out there. In other words, the displaced reality of this model and this way of thinking has you really upside down. And so we have to make that U-turn. And then everything you start to see differently and start to understand differently. And you don't have to worry about time itself, which so it doesn't matter. We're not here to determine whether this is right or this is right. The only thing that matters for our conversation today is how you're relating to it. And time itself is really yours to command instead of being at the mercy of it. And so I think we were pointing out in the promo of this that everything happens at the time it's supposed to, whether it's this or this. Because if it's this, then it has to happen at the time it's supposed to, because it's, 24 hours from now, it's going to be, what is it, 6:50 something again, 6:57. And we can't change that. And even with this model, nothing, in other words, every step along this line is an accumulation of everything that has gone before. So whatever is occurring at this moment is a function of the past. And so with every moment in time is not something that we control, but what we control is how we relate to it. And so this is about empowering you. This is about understanding how, with an awareness of who you really are, then the decisions that you would make about your life would change. We would then see all of the things that are cause for concern, all the divisiveness, all of the conflict. I mean, it sounds like a fairy tale, but that's what we're giving up for the chaos that we have. And it just requires that shift in consciousness. And so this is about changing the time here. Don't be concerned about the time outside, because you're in charge of that. And your relationship with that will change once you begin to understand and appreciate who you already always are. And so what is, and that's not subject to change. Who you are is not subject to change. You make change. You don't change as a result of what's happening outside. In other words, you're the idea that people come to a scene and there's some who are wondering what's happening, and there are some who are watching what's happening, and then there are some who are making things happen. And that ought to be you. Or you will be in the condition that we are in, wondering what's next and whether we are going to survive or not. And so whether you think that the end is near, and there's good reason to think so. With this model, there's really no end. We might look at the change that's coming as a necessary reset, because of course when as the cycle turns, we have to get back to that point where all is well. And unfortunately, with this model, that all is well is when you die and go somewhere up there. Well, that paradise is for us to create right here. This is where it always is. You've had the Jehovah Witnesses knock on your door and they leave you these very nice pictures, with the cow and the lion, drinking from the same pool, and the grass is all green, and the trees are laden with fruit, and yeah, that's how it can be, and that's how it is when we make this correction. Unfortunately, it's cyclical, and so we rise and fall, but your relationship with it doesn't have to be one of despair. It simply comes from understanding. So this is about understanding and changing that perspective and taking responsibility for those who make things happen. And there are enough of those change makers, and there's room among them for you. You don't have to be part of the hand wringing and the the marches and the demonstrations and all of the things that we had we have out of ignorance created. But the time is what matters, and as we move in that direction, you can then be that positive force for change. But of course, it starts over here. And so you have to master your own self. One way we describe and define meditation is as thought management, managing your thinking, or being able to move beyond the consciousness of the body. All of that is within your power. So when you think of yourself as this physical entity that sometimes it gets sick, and sometimes it wants to be in this whatever mood that is determining how you are feeling, when it always should be the other way around. And what might sound like when you make that shift, then and this might sound almost impossible, but when you make that shift, your body no longer determines how you feel. So you're no longer at the mercy of your body. So you become what we call this self-sovereign, where you are able to manage your own kingdom. And that puts you always at cause and not at effect. And so this is what we want to have you leave here with, this understanding of who you are and what time has to do with it, and what especially you have to do with it. So before I go a little further, I wanted to get a sense from you of what have you heard? What what I have said so far? What's your take on that? And if you have some, Jose will give you the microphone, and because I'd like to hear from you, because um, I hear myself often, and so I want to hear from you, and you on Zoom as well. And any questions as well? Yes.
Would it be possible to live in a world where everyone is like in the circle and like fully conscious, or would the world we live in now not um be what it is? As in like we need the structure of people who are not conscious and people who are to make up, I guess,
Yeah.
probably capitalism or how like
Yeah.
we live in today's society.
Yeah. Well, to have what you just described, it's the thinking that has to change. We have to have that consciousness. That's a priority. That is the education that we have to have. That is the enlightenment that we have to have. And when we do that, we have paradise again. If you take the folks here right now and put them in paradise, it'll be hell in a minute. In 2 weeks, we'll be right back where we were, because they would be taking that same thinking that meant that there's not enough, and more for me, less for you, and instead of seeing our oneness, we'll be seeing our race, we'll be seeing our gender, we'll be seeing our nationality, we'll be seeing all the things that divide us, all the identities that are not real. Again, you're not subject to change. And so who you are is not, I know you wake up in the morning thinking that you are, I don't know, you're Brazilian, or you are Indian or American. That's just something for you to work with. It makes travel easy, but that's not that's not who you are. So yes, that transformation. So that change, what we have now is what we've created, and now with the transformation that we're talking about, you will recreate this heaven on earth, this paradise. And you know what it looks like, because you've been looking for it in all the wrong places already. That's why you go to the happy hour on Friday, and I'm glad that you're here today. But you've been looking for happy, and you've been looking for safety and security, and you've been looking for joy and love and all of those things, because that's who we essentially are. And so once you have that road to that, once you know how to get there, because it's knowing where you're going is one thing, but you also have to know how to get there. And so what we invite you to here is to be on that road. And so then we can all have this oneness. And when we look at each other, we won't see the differences, which of course has caused so much conflict.
Hi, this is my first session here, and I've been invited by my friend, like my very good friend, and I really loved it, and I really loved the concept which I learned today from you. So thank you so much. My name is Shivani, by the way. I'm from India,
Okay.
and what I learned today is that everything is eternal, and there is no one direction or one path to like whatever you want to achieve or any dream of yours.
Mhm.
It's all like we are living in the now.
Mhm.
So it's like we are just creating with our consciousness whatever dreams we want to fulfill. But my question here is like, as you said that everything is eternal, and people keep saying that your time is coming. So is
Yeah.
it like am I the creator right now,
Mhm.
or it has universe or God or whatever you want to call it has your plans? Like, will he guide me through it, and will he bring that time to me? Like whatever, if I'm a doctor, so if I want to suppose build my clinic, or maybe I want to marry the guy of my dreams, or be with my family. So is my time coming, or is it like I can create that right now? I'm the creator right now. Thank you.
The answer to both questions is yes. And of course, the present is always the most important, because as I was alluding to earlier, what we're experiencing now is a result of actions and decisions that we've taken in the past. And what the future will be is the result of actions and decisions that we must make right now. So when you have that awareness, that will change the actions that you need to take. And this this part of you that's been asleep, this intellect that's been hijacked by those who want to sell you things and have you see yourself as this dependent being on all of these physical gadgets and so on. That begins to awaken, and once that awakens, then you are awakened, and voila, we have the new world, and it comes like that. And welcome aboard.
I have one more question. So is everything predestined, or do like how you said, like we create our own reality? Or like suppose if I was in India, I could have like studied there and settled down there or whatever, but I chose to come here.
Mhm.
So am I creating this reality, or is this predestined that I have to be here in this time?
The answer to that question too is yes and yes.
Yeah.
It is both, because the cycle
Mhm.
is the habit. You can see it as predestined, but remember, you are a decision maker,
Yeah.
okay, and you are making decisions as well. And so it's in a way it's both. There's a symbiotic relationship. It's not one or the other. We tend to think of it as one or the other, but it's not one or the other. And so the cycle, knowing that, doesn't mean that, okay, well, it's going to turn out the way it did the last time anyway, so I don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
Well, if that's what you did the last time, then it wouldn't have turned out that way.
Yeah.
And understanding that there's a thin line there that you can cross. So just keep in mind that you are a cause even when you don't realize it. And so you want to take responsibility for that. And having this understanding allows you to take responsibility for that. And you're no longer a victim.
Right.
You're no longer responding. You're not the puppet anymore, and then you can really fly. And that's what we want from you all. We want you to get your wings and start to fly. There's we always tell the story about the the eagle egg that got stuck with the chicken eggs, and when the hen brought all of them to being, um, the the eagle thinks that the chickens is who he is. So when he sees this big bird flying above, and he says, "Oh my gosh, what is that?" That's and the other chick says, "Well, that's an eagle." And he said, "Well, I wanna fly too." And said, "No, you can't fly. You're a chicken. You're supposed to be here scratching around with us." And so what has happened to us with we have been associated with the chickens, and that's who we think we are. But we want you to get your wings so that you can fly, because who you are is this powerful being that is unlimited, that has no physical boundaries, that has no reason to fear, that is beyond harm, that is powerful, and that is able to consciously create this world that we are going after by accumulation, rather than the way we ought to be doing it, having it emerge. It's not something that you have to gather and get us to this place where there is so much confusion and conflict. Anybody on Zoom has anything to add, or a question or a comment?
I have one more question, if you don't mind.
No, that's okay.
So, I have heard about moksha, which means liberation. And so my question here is like, is liberation like by your good karmas, can you escape the rebirth and the like, the eternal life, what we call it? Can we escape that, like being born again and die? Or is liberation meaning to, like how you said, you're your soul, not your body? So is liberation means like to raise yourself to such a level that you're liberated from all the, more Maya, what we
Yeah.
call it in Hindi.
Yeah, it's no, you're not liberated forever.
Can't escape life and death.
You can't get out of the game, if you will. You have to keep playing, because that is your part anyway. That is your part, and no one else can take your part in the limited plays. If you but if you got sick or something and you couldn't play your part, they'll find a substitute for you. And these days they can do it in, there's a big controversy now with what's her name? Lucy, not Lucy, Johansson. What is that actress's name? They substituted her voice with AI and so on. So they can find a substitute for you. But you are so unique. Only you can play your part. In fact, you're so unique that not even one hair on your head is duplicated in all of the 8 billion bodies that we have here. So you ought to be in awe of yourself. You ought to be in awe of yourself. I mean, the fact that you can listen to me, how is that happening? How is it that you can hear me? I mean, we could have a corpse right there with hair and ears and eyes and so on, but wouldn't hear anything. But you're in there, and it's you that are making that happen. But we forget that. We're not even aware of how wondrous we are. And so we're in awe of AI, but not of ourselves. And so we wanna, you're an ego, you're not a chicken. And what these conversations are about is to have that awareness, not in the background, but in the foreground. And so when you wake up every day, you're not looking to avoid any problems. You're looking for the next problem to solve. Because that's who you are. It's like, okay, what do I have to get at today? And you'll be smiling all the time. because that's the world you want to live in. You want to use all these attributes, these talents. You want to make the world a better place. You want a place where we are happy and content and able to have the kind of sustenance and security that's so essential for our well-being. And that's the purpose. That's why you're here. We want to know what role you're supposed to play. And you want to know that as well. And you will know because you'll do it for free. That's why they pay you now, because you're not doing what you want to do. That's why you get paid. If you were doing what you want to do, they wouldn't have to pay you. And you'll be well taken care of because you would be giving. It's, what you give, you get. Okay? And that is this model. Here, if you got 4 mangoes and your friend doesn't know it, you'll probably not want her to know because you're gonna run out of mangoes. But this model here, you start giving away those mangoes, you'll get a whole tree. And that is not speculation. That's the law that operates here. That's the universal law. Here, well, good luck. And so bringing that to the fore is what's important.
Thank you.
Anyone on Zoom? Oh, there's one over here. Yeah, but I want the folks on Zoom to hear you.
Okay, it's always nice to hear all this explanation, but in practical terms, you wake up in the morning, what's the next challenge? We are still in a body in the material. We have to eat, we have to breathe, we have to listen with all the noises and pollutions around. We have to go to work. We have to pay the bills. Otherwise, we don't have electricity or water. We have to pay for the water. And how we find a balance, if I am light, I am peace, I am in a spiritual being, but I have to pay the bill of the electricity.
Yeah.
How is this balance?
Yeah. Well, this is why I was saying to you earlier about what is your understanding of who you are. And so if in your relationship with things you are in need, if in your relationships with things what you require, you have to go out and get, then that puts you in that space of anxiety and fear and dependence. And so you're driven to acquire, and you're concerned about what time it is I have to go catch the train and so on. And so this practice of meditation, as I was saying, moves you beyond the consciousness of the body. So it's that understanding. And of course, we Raj yoga. The yoga is the link. And so what we are linking with, who you are linking with, is the Supreme Soul that provides it all, in the sense that as he is the seed of the whole human world tree. And so if you are able to have that connection, which is what the meditation and the yoga will do, you then become that part of the whole that is that as a consequence you're able to have all that you need. But it comes from that shift in how you see yourself, and that is what has to change. Because unless you do that, then you will see yourself as this person in need. but the meditation is the method to open up that door. And once you start going down that path, then because you see as this light, as this spirit, you don't need anything. You are whole and complete. Yes, the body is given to you because you need it to, as I was saying earlier, to express and to play your part. And as you are playing your part, and you're playing it the way that allows you to not to be dependent on it, but just to have it be your tool, your expression, then how well you play your part will bring everything that you need to you. In other words, it's the function of this, is what we're changing is the consciousness. We're changing the way you see yourself and also the way you see the world. And it's not that we're already that way. In other words, it's not a question of becoming that. It's really remembering that. And we've lost that connection. So we have to reawaken that person, that soul, because as this entity that's eternal, you don't need anything. So you use the things that are given to you to make manifest in the world who you already always are. And that happiness and that comfort and that sense of well-being will then find its way to you because you are taking responsibility for it, and you're not dependent. It changes your perspective. It changes your awareness of who you are, because the way we are waking up into the world, we're waking up into the world looking for what you can get or what you need rather than what you can provide. So doing that 180 is the challenge. So yes, it is a challenge, but once you start to make that change, then everything else changes. You start to see the world differently. Even your needs change, and you'd have to give yourself, and maybe permission is the word, to have that generosity of spirit, to have that trust, to have that sense of as I was saying earlier, we are so we're so insecure, we're not even able to appreciate who we are. So this wondrous being that's in this body, that's making it move, that we should be present to, we're not. And like I said, we're the reverse. So you stop being the body and you start just using it. And so it's a process. We have to, it's like when you at some point, when it was perfect, we started to go in this direction, which was the wrong direction. Once you are aware, then you have to make that U-turn, and it's making the U-turn and going back to that point of reference is the challenge. That's the work. So it's not something that we all accept as our mission, if you will. But you can, based on the knowledge that you are now having access to. Because without that, then you would think that there's only one road, and you would continue along that line that keeps you dependent and keeps you thinking of yourself as not having enough and so on. but it requires courage. Requires courage. You have to have the courage to do that. And that is what we're saying is available to you. You have to have the courage to do that. And it starts with the awareness, and then you take the action. But it's not going to happen. That's going to happen to you.
I just have a
going
comment.
to make it happen. And as long as you can envision, remember, you are a creator, okay? And what you're experiencing is your own creation, and you can change that. You can change that. You have that power. And that is what we are awakening you to, that you are all powerful. You're all powerful. You're not weak and dependent. And it's a shift. It's a full 180. It's a full 180. So you have to trust yourself. You know how there's a particular the falcon, when she lays her eggs and all of them hatch, they're usually on a cliff, and she just flies away and leaves them there. And one by one, they realize that if they stay there, they're going to starve, and they jump off and discover that they can fly. And so that's the position that we are in. And the reason I know that you can fly is because you've done it before. And this is why the cycle is so important. You've done this before. This is not the first time. You've done this before, and you're going to do it again. And how you do that is by the present action. It's by changing right now, in this moment. That is immediate. And then the results will follow. So you just have to trust yourself. Remember, you are a child of God, so you're a little God. Okay? And speaking of the thing that manages us, it's time has flown. You had a question?
Yes. Because our physical bodies can't hold our entire soul, when we die, does our soul like come together again and it's one?
The soul just leaves the same way it came. In other words, until the life or the soul leaves, they're combined. But then, when you go to funerals, they refer to what's in the box as your remains. Well, that's what you left behind. You're gone. And of course, you're gone to your next chapter, because you don't just you can't be seen with the naked eye, but you don't just cease to exist. In fact, you're always here. It's a difficult, forever and eternal are difficult concepts, aren't they? But you weren't born in the first place. So only when there's birth there is death, but that's just the phenomenon of you entering the fetus, but you're just a point. You're no bigger than this, and that's too big. And in this seed, you ever seen a tamarind tree? It's like huge, you can put, maybe it can shade the biggest ones, shade about, maybe could provide shade for maybe 600 people. And the seed is like, that's a tamarind seed. So you are all that and more. And that's what we want you to discover. So you ready to start? Okay, well, let's have some meditation. And don't stop. And regardless of the cycle that you adhere to, just notice what is informing your living. And it isn't this one, it's this one. And even if that's not the case for you, what you want to leave here with is this consciousness. You are this conscient being. You are always and forever. Okay? And so just go within and listen in. And as you listen, remember that you are the listener, not the sound. And whatever discomfort you may be experiencing with your body at the moment, that you might not be able to put in abeyance. You are the experiencer, not the experience. You are the witness, the detached observer, the subtle creator of all that you are and all that you can be. You're not needy. You're not a victim. You are not a body. When you look in the mirror, remember that you are the seer and not the seed. And so have this consciousness give rise to a new you. And so even as you lay your body down tonight, look back at this day and understand and appreciate that you have created it. And that tomorrow you can create a different day. Whether there are bills to pay, whether there are groceries to put in store, whether there is this task that you are feeling the need that you must go to, understand that you make those decisions. And that whatever decisions you make, whatever the consequences are, you have the power to resolve them. And that they are there for you to find the value in them. And so you need not live your life as win or lose. You can live your life as win and learn. And with every step you take, you're closer and closer to total liberation. liberation from your body, liberation from your culture, liberation from your gender, liberation from your relationships if they are ties that are binding you. You can set yourself free. And when you set yourself free, then you can set so many others free. You can set the world free. And when you change, the world changes. Om Shanti. Okay. And my name is Ananta, which I should have told you at the beginning. But that's not who I am anyway. That's just my name.